Well, hello, Grace Church. Through the wonders of our new Grace Vision technology, I'm actually able to see you this week. Grace Vision allows me to peer into your homes and see you in your PJs. Kind of creepy, eh? Well, some of you, by the way, need to shave, but please wait till the video is over. And by the way, some of you need your face covering. Face covering. Can you believe how quickly things change? 6 weeks ago, if you were in a mall, remember malls? If you'd have been in a mall and saw someone with a mask on, you might have called the police or said, "Why are you wearing a mask?" Now, when stores reopen, just 6 weeks later, you might be asked, "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" Call the police. How did global change happen in just 6 weeks? I want you to hold on to that thought because it may provide some insight into our scripture passage a little bit later. Some of you are early in your exposure to Grace Community Church, and last week I took some time to talk about the doctrine of inspiration and why we think that gives special attention to the Bible and take it seriously and study it. So that's why we do these Bible studies, these sermons based on Scripture. The reason the Bible merits our attention is because it claims to be inspired by God. God so guided the human authors such that what they wrote were the very words God intended. And then we ask the question, if God wrote a book, shouldn't we pay attention to it and see if he speaks to us through that book? So that's the experiment. Ask him, God, speak to me through this book. And we encourage you to read the Bible and see what happens, or listen in while I read it a little bit later. Now, I want to give you a second thought that's really important for how we approach the Bible, and that's context. Context. There's actually two layers to context. One is the historical and cultural setting, the history, the events, the things that went on during that day, the things that we need to know, which is the background that the language represents. The second aspect of context, though, is linguistic or semantics. I mean, you can look words up in a dictionary, but how they're used in relationship to each other, they take on flavors, their range of meaning gets more specific and limited, and we look at the thoughts beforehand and afterwards, how an argument is being developed. So context is a big deal when it comes to understanding the Bible. Be careful about understanding, well, for example, a pop song might say something like this. They might sing the wonders of a new lover, and when you wake up, you feel like you've been born again. Well, be careful with using that definition when you're thinking about Jesus' terms, you must be born again. He might be meaning something entirely different. Well, digging into history, into ancient writings, the original languages, or great translations, all these are some of the tools that we have to do to understand what the Bible's saying. What clues for meaning from the author lie in his writings elsewhere? Man, this is going to be a big undertaking. This is going to be a whole lot of work. But here's the thing. It's invaluable for uncovering the meaning instead of imposing a meaning on the text. In other words, when it comes to understanding the Bible, I myself am not the authority. The Scripture itself is the authority. Authority. That's a key question, not only for us in COVID today, but for serious Bible scholars. Who can you trust? For example, do I drink or inject the disinfectant or not? Do I wear a mask or not? Apparently authority matters. Some people say, well, just follow your heart. Intuition will be your guide. Intuition will be your authority. Well, the Bible claims something rather different, that the way that seems right to a man, well, comes to a rather desperate end. Our text insists that the greatest threat faced by humankind today is not a virus. Our greatest threat is spiritual deception. God speaks, we ignore him. After all, we are smarter, more sophisticated, we are more educated, more connected with experts who really know. Who's to say God wrote that book? Why trust a Middle Bronze Age book about some minor Palestinian deity? This issue is always in play. Why trust the Bible? By the way, that's a great question. It ought to be asked. It ought to be answered along with this. Who or what is your authority? Well, watch this current advertisement with a powerful statement about authority.